the whole of the crucifixion of Christ, I personally have not heard a lot about Mary, the mother of Jesus' robe. So in these brief few moments I have before you, I'm going to share with you my spiritual account of what Mary went through in the days leading up to Christ's death. And you will find that Mary was the perfect picture of obedience in conflict. In today's generation and time, I'm finding that a lot of parents are more concerned with being their child's friend than being their parent. And I'm not necessarily speaking about the parents of adult children. I'm talking about parents who still have children under the age of 18. Parents today are more concerned with whether or not their children like them versus whether they obey and respect them. Whatever. I am the mother of 2 adult sons, and I have told them that no matter, as long as I live, I will always be mom. We will never be friends. But in Mary's case, however, she didn't have a choice. Mary was created and chosen by God to be Jesus' mother, the woman who carried him in her womb and birthed him to life. But in many, and probably most instances, we find that Mary had to stand down in obedience to God's unique calling on her life and be servant and sister to Jesus, daughter of God. Throughout Jesus' ministry and life, there are examples of how Mary had to consciously decide in obedience which role she was designated to play, depending on the circumstances. Let's go through some of those examples, starting from the beginning. In Luke chapter 1, verses 26 through 38, we find the angel Gabriel approaching Mary with a beautiful greeting, saying, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." Further down, you find Gabriel explaining to her that she will conceive and give birth to a son and call him Jesus. However, Mary is confused by the whole conversation at first. She does not understand how she can become pregnant, even though she is engaged to be married to Joseph, and she is still a virgin. By the end of the passage of text, however, Mary willingly and obediently takes up the charge and agrees wholeheartedly to do just as Gabriel states. She says, "I am the Lord's servant. May it be to me according to your word." Right here in this passage, you find her being obedient despite the conflict of being a virgin, but still becoming a pregnant mother and upsetting the delicate balance of being engaged to a man who has never touched her intimately and still agreeing to carry the child of another man. Obedience in conflict. Now in Luke 2, verse 41 through 52, we find another instance of parental conflict versus servant obedience. In this passage of text, Joseph and Mary and Jesus went as usual to the festival of the Passover. But on this particular instance, Jesus made a decision to stay behind in Jerusalem instead of following his parents home. After traveling a full day away, Mary and Joseph became panicked as they realized that Jesus was not with them. Mary, as any normal mother would, decided to go back and find her son. After looking for 3 days, Mary finally finds him in the temple courts listening to the teachers. Mary, as any normal mother would, confronts Jesus and basically asks, "Why would you willingly and blatantly worry us like that?" Now, mind you, at this time, Jesus is only 12. But his response to her is, in layman's terms, "Why would you bother even looking for me? Don't you know I got my father's business to take care of?" Now see, that kind of attitude right there would have had me going off on my little son. After worrying and traveling for 3 days to find him, that's how he gonna talk to me? I don't think so. Jesus would have got whooped. But Mary, who shows her maternal feelings and her anxious worry about her son, concedes her natural instinct to her servant's obedience and only finds herself in awe of how wise and favorable her son is becoming in God's eyes. That's why God chose Mary and not Janice. Now let's move on to the day of the crucifixion. John 19:17 through 27. There stands Mary, a mother who is watching the torture, humiliation, painfully horrible treatment of her son, her child, her baby, the flesh of her flesh. A child who she knows is completely innocent of absolutely any wrongdoing. And she has to stand there and watch them crucify him. Now again, if that were me, and they were abusing one of my babies, I can tell all y'all now that you would be on your way to a fiery hell. Because there's no way my child could be the savior. Because I could not stand and allow that to happen. You see, a mother has to learn how to take care of her child's needs as time goes on. But protecting your child is a natural instinct, one we are born with. Therefore, the average mother would in no way, shape, or form have been able to stand there and watch them hurt her child, especially for something she knows he did not do. I would have crawled up on that cross, cut my baby loose, and triple dog dare somebody to stop. Y'all know me, and God knows me too. That's why it was Mary there, who was also the fully obedient servant, and stood there and watched as they killed her completely innocent son. In Matthew 27:46, it says, about 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? I say, surely Mary had to hear the tortured cry of her son and feel like she too had forsaken him. But she did not make a move. She stood and in obedience, despite her own pain and conflict, allowed the will of the Father to be done. And in Jesus' third of the 7 last words, Jesus confirms Mary and acknowledges her conflict and her obedience during his crucifixion because he recognized her as his mother by making sure that she would be taken care of even after his death. He said in John 9:26-27, woman, here is your son, and to the disciple, here is your mother. Mary, a woman who stood strong in obedient servanthood to her Savior, despite the conflicting pain and emotions of being a mother whose innocent child they killed right before her eyes. Mary, a perfect picture of obedience, even in the face of personal conflict to her maternal instincts. Mary, the mother of our Savior.